So I'm out here today and I'm foraging under this motorway underpass for what would normally be a really good tinder resource. Down there on that fence, normally there'll be loads of dry grass that's collected by the river when the river floods. Now obviously we've had some really big rain in the last couple of days, so the river is flooded. That means that that resource is now unusable. It's inaccessible, it's not safe to go into that water because the river current, although it's probably only 8 to 10 inches deep there's still a current being swept along that footpath because the river further up is flowing, it's coming in here. You can actually see the eddies and currents on that stanchion. So that means that I've now got to look elsewhere for my resource for firelighting. That was a real easy win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move further up along the riverbank, see what's still accessible. But it's a really good way of illustrating how sometimes a resource that we take for granted is just gone. And also about safe foraging. It's not always about what you're eating or what you're putting in your mouth. It can also be the environment. I mean, if we look up further up, if we look up the river there, I don't know whether you can see it in the camera, that river is really flowing. I mean, I'll come a bit further along here. I mean, you can see how that river is really going some. So if we were to get into that river, it could carry us quite a long distance before we actually came out. So stay safe guys, and obviously watch what you're doing out there. The weather is against us at the moment. So we've come a little bit further upriver, literally 20 metres, and what we've found against this fence is a lot of this, which is really dry grass. This is perfect material for firelighting, and also this sort of stuff, dry stems which snap with very little pressure on it, so that sort of material is great for building birds' nests out of. And a lot of it, because it's been under this tree here, a lot of it is very dry still. So I'm going to gather quite a lot of this material, obviously watching what the river's doing whilst I'm working. As you can see, the river's got quite a good flow on it. It means that we've got to keep an eye on what we're doing. We can't get too close to the riverbank because if we slip, we can quite easily be swept away by this river. Okay, so as I say, stay safe, but for firelighting and things like that, we'll hopefully get some really good material. Okay, so we've moved a little bit further up the riverbank and not more than another 20 metres and we've come across another really good dry resource. So you can actually see in the centre just how dry that material is. So we're going to take some of that for our bird's nest as well. At the base it's actually quite wet, but up higher it's dry. So we'll take some of that. Got a good handful of that material. Again, adding to our bird's nest. We're going to head a little bit further up the riverbank. But yeah, considering it's not long after been raining, sort of 20 minutes ago, it's now really turning nice weather, and that's how changeable the weather's been today. But as you can see, there's lots and lots of these dry stems sticking up, and there's also lots of this dry yellowing grass, which is also a good resource. If you can get it dry, that will add really well to a tinder nest. Okay. And in amongst what looks to be angelica stems, there's also these thistles. So there's thistle head, but also the body of the thistle itself, the dead stems are quite good. So we're going to take a little bit of dead thistle stem. We're going to add that to our foraging bag. And then we're going to move up a little bit further, see if there's any more bits we can add to our tinder bundle. Right, so not something we're going to pick today, but I'm stood between a hazel and a birch. So for materials, for future, these are really great. Come around here, lower down. This here where the birch bark is naturally starting to flake and peel. I mean, that's where we can take little pieces of birch bark from. I'll turn the camera around so that you can actually see. Turn it around. You can see here where the natural curls are coming off. These will give us little bits of birch bark without damaging the tree. But I mean, you can look at the ground. There's bits of dead birch branch all around, so we don't even need to go to the tree. There's pieces like this where it's giving us the bark, and inside we've got wood. So we've got the birch bark itself, and we've actually got wood inside that's gone to punk. And I'm just gonna see if we're focusing on that. So we can actually take that wood out, dry it a little, and then char it for our next fire if we needed to. But yeah, but that's that bark there. We can dry that out a little. That is ready for us for our next fire should we need it. The hazel here, I mean, we can hunt round, look for dry dead pieces. I mean, that to me, it breaks off with these. That's just dead. So that we can take from the tree without harming the tree. You can actually see where it started to moulder on the tree. So yeah, so these two trees, this hazel and this birch, will give us a lot of resource without actually us having to do any harm to the tree. So hopefully in the future, if we remember where these two are, these are good resources to come back to. We don't need anything from them today, so why strip it? Why not let them grow? I mean, here on this bit of dead birch branch, and I'll bring it in again, the bark is just peeling off. That's just peeling off bark. We collect lots of that. We can add that to our tinder bundle, and that bark is still impregnated with a lot of oils that the tree holds. So that is effectively loaded with fuel. The bark acts kind of like a wick for those oils. Right, so what we've come across this tree. Now normally this tree's in the river, it's actually washed up on the bank, which is kind of fortunate. We've had a bit of good luck with that. But what this tree tends to do is it tends to dip its branches in the water and catch all these little bits of grass and things like that. Now they are a brilliant resource. So they are something that we can add to our bird's nest with plentiful supply. We just pick out any bits of green grass because they're going to not work in our advantage. But yeah, we can pick up loads of this. There's bits of twigs in there, bits of reeds, bits of dry leaves. All when dried out are great flammable materials. So it's effectively building our bird's nest for us. It's doing a lot of the work that we need to do. As well, this tree, although it's been sat by the river, it is really, really dry. There's elements that have been in the water, but there's elements on these branches that are just, look inside, that are super dry inside. So yeah, they could be a really good resource for us. Right, so we're on our way back now. We've had a bit of a forage down the river. As you can still see, it's still going some. And with the rain given over the next couple of days, it's only going to get worse. This is our foraging pouch. So and we've got quite a good little parcel in there. So yeah, so we're going to be covering that up so it doesn't get wet in the rain, cover it back up. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how the fire lighting goes. And the rain over the last couple of days, it really makes you think, you know, what extra things you have to do for fire in the rain. It's not just as simple as, you know, gather some materials and away you go. Even with lighters, matches and all those sort of things, you've got to think in this kind of weather what the rain's going to be like. I think the site where I am might be underwater by that point, so we might have to think of a new and interesting way of lighting fire on water if it comes down to it. But yeah, stay safe, look after yourselves, obviously don't take any unnecessary risks, and have fun.